welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. This is American Horror Stories, y'all, okay? This is season 2, episode 3, and this episode is called Drive, all right? Now get on in here in the den, get comfortable, relax, sit back. Now, guys, I gotta keep it real with y'all. This episode was like, it was alright. I did not like it as much as I liked the first two. However, y'all put it in the comments and let me know what y'all was thinking about it. But it did not go the way I thought it was, okay? Like I said, it's called Drive. And so I said, okay, we're going to have something with a car going on, right? And the synopsis just told us that as a girl in the club, that life gets turned upside down when nightlife follows her home. So I said, okay, maybe this is going to be giving me, like, what was that back in the days? Tales from the Crypt or, Creep Show. I can't remember which one it was when they had that episode where the lady, does kind of a hit and run and the guy keeps coming back on her car talking about thanks for the ride, lady. I was like, maybe it's going to give us something like that, right? But no, okay? So as we get into this episode, we see these girls partying in the club, and, one of them is saying, I'm going to kill somebody if I don't get a drink. They go over by the bar, and they basically make this toast where they're saying, may we get what we want, not what we deserve. I thought that was an interesting toast to make, and they're saying how it's dead in here, it's boring, this ain't really giving nothing, okay, it ain't really nobody good up in here and things like that, and they having their drink, and they just so happen to look at the end of the bar and say, one of the girls says to the other one, Dad, why these never come in pairs, right? Why never could be two of them? And so they essentially say that they have this pact where, whoever sees him first is the one to get him. So I'm like, okay, I can feel y'all with that, right? We don't argue over guys and we don't share guys. Just seems like two single friends that's in the club having a funky good time. So she's like, okay, he's yours, She ends up introducing herself to him. And he says his name is Wyatt. And he's like, oh, your friend didn't have to leave. I didn't mean to scare her off. And, this one girl is saying to him, well, sometimes it's good to be scared, right? A little scariness in your life is never such a bad thing. That could be good at the same time. And, we see them start getting on the dance floor and seem to be having a nice time, right? And, she even told him she'd rather give than receive as far as being scared, right? She's the one that wants to scare the people. And so one minute we seeing them out on the dance floor, and the next minute, they bumping and grinding in the car. I said, okay, that's how we do that. We just meet people and take them back to the car and get it in. To each their own. That's what you want to do. You like it. I love it. So, he start getting all cocky and misogynistic and, thinking that shit is sweet and he's the world and, supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread. And he wanted to tell her, like, okay, I know how this goes. I could guess this part. You're going to give me your number. You're going to ask if you could see me again. That's how y'all girls are. Y'all be acting like y'all don't want to get serious and y'all just want a night out, but really it be more. Y'all all the same. My ex is the same. All of you are the same. And so she was like, oh, you just got me all figured out, huh? And I'm just going to be going, crazy fast and wanting to be into you. She's like, well, I tell you what, I'm saying, Wyatt, what you can do for me from the bottom of my heart, cowboy, is you could go ahead and get your behind up out my car, okay? And then, because he was all, oh, here it comes. And she was like, no, get the fuck out of my car. Okay, he didn't see that one coming. So we see her driving away and, playing her music or whatever in her own little world. And then we see this car coming up behind her. He flashing his lights. He beeping the horn. She like, well, what the heck is this guy problem? Okay, what is your problem? What do you want? She's like, waving out the window saying you could go around me. 1 minute she's going slower. Next minute she's even like, okay, let me speed up. When she speeds up, he basically ends up ramming into the, back of the car because she was like, okay, you want to get nasty, I could get nasty too. And she's like, what the hell? What is going on here? So when she sees the next, available turn coming up or whatever, she hurries up and like makes a short turn, around the corner. And that kind of throws him off or whatever, right? And then she goes around to, I don't know if it was just closed or it was abandoned, but it looked like a car wash. And she goes around in that, and you see the car come going past as if he's still looking for her, but he was not able to see her in the area that she was stopped in. And so that is basically how she loses him. Now, of course, I'm thinking at this point, as I think a lot of us was, that this is the guy from the club that's, following her. Maybe he's pissed off that she done kicked him out the car or something, right? And so when she gets home, we just see her talking to this guy and telling him about what happened, at the club. And he's saying how he worried and he don't like that. And she's like, oh, please, he was just a creep, in the club. He's like, you had to, outrun him. And so she's like, I'm not worried about that, Chaz. And he's like, what did he look like? And she's like, I didn't get a good look at him because it was so dark. And he was like, so how do you know he didn't follow you home? And she's like, I'm telling you, I lost him. So she's like, if you're so worried about it, then go check outside. He's not there, whatever. And so he was like, have you been checking the news? He said, there's been all these missing people from the nightclubs. Maybe there's a serial killer. Things is all over the place or whatever. He was like, why don't you try internet dating for a while? Now, mind you, I'm thinking this is her brother or something that she confided in, or a friend. So he was like, I know that it's crossing a boundary, but we could go out together. We don't have to be like all up underneath each other, but we could at least be in the same building. So she's like, I don't want that. All right, that's not what we agreed to. She was like, it just feels like you're trying to make things different and you're trying to use this as an excuse to have your way. And he's like, no, no, no. Hey, so the next thing you know, he started coming up on her. He's like, I went into this marriage with open eyes. So I'm like, okay, marriage. All right. So we got a marriage going on that is an open marriage, right? And he's telling her he's happy. He's not complaining. He's okay with it. He knew what he was getting. And then we see when she starts to wipe this makeup off that she has this mark on her face. And he's like, you don't have to cover this. It's a part of you. And I love it. Okay. And then she basically walks off and was like, when you say, that you're happy, I feel like you're saying you're being forced into this. And, at the end of the day, that's not what she wants. And then he was saying, no, of course I'm happy. I couldn't be happier, right? And then he was like, it's just been a while. And at the end of the day, they have to share a relationship too, opened or closed or whatever it's supposed to be. And so she says they share more than most people do, right? And then he's like, just hey, and trying to still say we could share more. And obviously you can see that he wants to get into it with her. He's saying that he's supposed to be a primary partner, right? But sometimes he is feeling like he's coming in second, and that was not a part of the deal. She just basically says, sorry, Chaz, it's been a long night and I'm tired and I want to go to bed. It's been a really crazy night. And so he goes, yeah, crazy for you, not for me. Now, I don't know, because if your wife comes home and says that, she done been chased down, then I don't think that's necessarily the type of crazy you would want. But I'm like, okay, so the next thing we seeing that it's nighttime, all the lights is out. She's hearing some type of noises that wake her up, and she basically gets up and she goes and starts checking around the house. She looks at the clock and is saying 3:23. So everywhere she's looking, she don't see nothing. She takes this flashlight out the drawer. You can see that this is a very big house. They seem to have like two separate staircases. So at one point she went upstairs, then she went downstairs. We seen is this wine cellar, and it looks like the window is open. And then her husband ends up coming down behind her saying, it's 3 o'clock. What are you doing down here? And she's like, listen, I came to check the locks and make sure. I thought I heard a noise. He's like, what did you hear? She's like, I don't know. I was sleeping. It's probably just nothing or whatever, right? But she did see that the window was open. And he was saying, do you think is the guy from the Jeep? And she's like, it's literally nothing. Can we go to bed, please? So it's like, okay, they go ahead to go back to bed. So the next day she's sitting out talking with her friend, and her friend is saying to her, girl, that's how it is. These guys will say that they want an open relationship, but really they don't, right? They probably think that you're going to end up changing your mind and it's going to just be you and them. They get jealous. And she was like, well, Chaz and me have already been together for a while. He know what it is. She's like, you think Chaz is like that? She's like, girl, they all like that, and she also brings up to him, how long, well, first she says, how long have y'all been trying in this? And she says, it's been about 8 months. So she was like, well, and he's not getting as much action as you. So yeah, that probably is an issue, And she said, well, he could, but he don't be wanting to. So then her friend is telling her, like, yo, check this out. A 22-year-old local woman is missing. She was like, more and more women is missing. And it looks like it was from the same daggone club that they was just at, and she was like, police fear that, this disappearance could be a lot like a lot of the other ones that have been going on in a lot of clubs, in the area. So she was like, how does this not make you think that this can be something to do with what happened? She starts to tell her about this urban legend, okay, of this woman that was driving home from work late one night, and this guy is behind her, beeping, flashing the lights, right? Sounds familiar. Same thing that happened to her. And, he keeps flashing these, high beams at her, and then he eventually rams her car, and she outruns him or whatever, or so she thinks, right? Except it's not. When she gets home, he basically is jumping up from the back seat, stabs her, whatever the case may be. And so the guy with the flashing lights was actually trying to warn her, that it was somebody he saw in her back seat. And because she didn't stop and she didn't listen to him when she got home, the guy that was in the back seat was able to kill her, and they found her the next day with her head, basically sitting out on the damn trunk of the car. And so she was like, well, hello, I'm still here, so that doesn't apply to this situation, all right? If it was somebody in my back seat, they would have got my ass, all right? So she's like, I'm alive and I'm thriving. And so she says, well, this missing guy looks familiar. And she's telling her, there's no serial killer and there's no daggone urban legends. Those is not real. And she was like, that's not going to stop me from doing my thing, right? All she want to do is just go out and party and live her best life. And she was like, don't even think about, basically running out on me tonight. And so she was like, okay, I'm down with you, but there's no more doing guys in your car, right? And so I'm like, okay, girl. So the next thing she out here getting busy with a chick, all right? She's just going to town on her, whatever, and the girl is saying, this is the best, I ever had. You making me feel so good, and at the same time, you make me feel like I'm not even here. And when they look up, her daggone friend is literally just standing there at the daggone window, looking up, looking at her. She was just asking her, like, do you want to go back inside, or do you want to hang out here? And so when she looks, she's like, who's that? And she's buttoning up her shirt, and she tells her, you need to leave. She's like, okay, just give me a second. And she's like, no, right now. She's like, okay, yeah, I heard you. So she go ahead and step out the car and was like, Jesus Christ, y'all bitches is crazy, okay? And so we hear her say, what are you doing, Piper, right? Her friend that she has, I guess they've been friends since high school, is named Piper. And she's like, what are you doing? That's the same thing I could ask you. She's like, you promised me. She was like, no, I said I wouldn't have a guy in the car, right? Basically being funny. So in other words, it wasn't a guy that I took to the car. It was a girl. So we see that she likes to get a little bit of both. She don't care what it is, and she just takes them to the car, okay? She ain't trying to go back to no hotel or none of that, right? Just get it in the parking lot. So her friend is like real cute, and she was like, are you a sex addict or something? Like, what's going on? Is there something that you can't control? She was like, talk to me. And she was like, I'm not a psychiatrist, but this is really starting to be a big issue or whatever. Are you making up for high school? Because that would be really fucked up. So she's like, oh my God, can't I just have some fun? Am I not allowed to have some fun? She's like, fun. She was like, I'm tired of being ditched for you to come out here with, creeps and skinks or whatever. You're just using me, for you to be able to say that you're coming out to hang with me, but the whole time you're spending out here doing your thing or whatever, right? And so, like, you just going in the car to bang away. She was like, I'm supposed to be supportive and not judgmental, but this is really some sick shit at this point, right? It's getting a little out of hand. I see a problem here. And so, she tells her, I can't tell if you're really mad at me or if you're just jealous. And she was like, you know what I am? I'm done with you, okay? I'm done. That's what I am. And so she basically was like, your husband is right. And so the next thing she's like, fuck you, Piper. And she's like, you're a disgusting freak. And I'm like, whoa, okay, that went left real quick. We going all the way there. I'm like, all right. So, she go ahead and she walk away. So while she out here in the parking lot or whatever, she decides to go back in and continue to party or whatever. And she's looking over, and how when you with somebody, you can see them no matter where it is, how far it is, what they got on. She notices somebody that's looking familiar to her. So she go walking up to him, and she says, you are looking a lot like my husband. What the heck are you doing here? You not supposed to be here. And he's like, well, I was worried about you, so I'm still going to try to, follow you and see how you are. First, he tried to play it off and be like, oh, I just was here. I didn't know you was coming here. She like, you know where the hell I was coming. And then she says, first it was with Piper, now it's with you. So he's like, well, what happened with Piper? She's like, don't worry about that. We're not going to get into that here. She was like, you don't need to be here. I'm trying to be out here and have a good time. And between you and her, I am feeling like, I'm in a prison or whatever the case may be. She was like, this is just not going to work. And so he was like, well, listen, I was just worried about you and I'm just trying to watch out for you. That's all I'm doing. It's called being your husband. And she's like, well, I'm not having this conversation here. This is not the time or the place. I just want to be free. I want to have fun. I can't do either of those things when you all around acting like you my damn chaperone. So she's like, are you going to leave or am I? So he basically walks away, right? So I say, yeah, this is weird. If you want to be free and have fun all the time, then maybe you shouldn't be in a marriage. So nonetheless, she go outside in the parking lot. She noticed that the same Jeep that looked like it was following her is out there. So she's standing on the side. She watching. She sees that the person comes out. They go ahead and they kissing on some girl. The girl leaves and he gets in the Jeep to drive away. Now she want to play detective and follow behind him, getting the license plate, trying to take a picture of the Jeep and all of this stuff. So I'm like, girl, you doing a lot, all right? And so she starts to get the number off the Jeep or whatever. And, then she just go ahead and she keeps, driving because he had did a short turn, kind of similar to the short turn that she did before, right? And so the next day, she's looking up online, the license plate. And then she also sees some type of article that's talking about these disappearances that's going on at the clubs and how they want help finding who's doing this. The husband comes up to her and says, I don't think this is working. We said no lying. We said we was going to be up front with each other. She's saying she just got something that's inside of her that she can't help. And he's basically like, that's always hungry. And so he's basically, she says she can't stop it. He was like, well, I can't keep going this way. She was like, so what do you want to do? And he tells her, well, maybe I could get an apartment and we could spend some time alone and just, see where we come out at the end, right? But then she starts getting all caught up into what she's looking at on the computer again with this license plate. So basically, when he see he's not getting no response from her, he go walking off. And when she look up again, she's like looking around like, Chad, he gone. So she sees pictures, essentially finds the guy's social media, sees the different pictures that he takes when he's out at the nightclub, and she sees where he works at, right? Some type of furniture store that has, other type of accessories or whatever. So when she come in the store, now mind you, at first I'm thinking that this was the same guy that she had met in the building, the beginning, but it's not. It's basically the one that was following behind her in the red Jeep. So I said, okay. So when she get in there, he's asking, do she need any help? She make up something saying she's looking for a knife set or whatever, right? And he shows us this knife set that he's like is really good. He has one of them in his house, a culinary set or whatever. And he's like, this is the perfect time to get it. They gotta sell. This is recommended from the Food Network. It's a beauty. And, he's just basically trying to make his best sell. And he's saying, you try it. And, telling her how great it is. And so she basically was like, well, I'm not really a cook. He was like, well, you could use it to kill your boyfriend. And then she's like, I don't have a boyfriend. And then she's saying she has a husband, because he was like, how is that possible? And then he was like, oh, well, what a disappointment for me. And he was like, well, this could work on your husband and whatever. So then he just puts it back, and he was like, is there anything else I can help you with? And he says he's there till 7. She was saying no, she gotta go ahead, and leave and go to work. He's like, okay, cool. So the next thing you know, he's going home or whatever, and she done follow him home. So I'm like, okay, sis, now you doing too much. Like, what is going on? What are you supposed to be, Nancy Drew? Like, why are we following this man to his house? She looking through the window. She sees that he looks like he's preparing to get in the shower. So then she take it a step further, and she going in his house. I'm like, no, that's not what we do, honey. Why are we going through people's houses? All right. So I'm steadily like, he's going to hear her, isn't he? Because she's being mad loud, right? At this point, I'm starting to feel like something is off with her, because I'm like, nah, we don't just walk around up and through people's houses. You know, she sees that he does have the knife set that he said he had, and she takes one of the knives. When I thought it was interesting because she picked up one of the smallest ones, but I'm like, okay. So when she comes in his room, she sees that he does have like these articles and stuff on his wall, and it looked like she wanted to try to take a picture of it, and like she's mad, you know, nervous and scared or whatever. And then when she's hearing him come out the shower, she just hides under the desk. And I'm like, really? He's not gonna see her? She's literally there in plain sight. But he gets dressed, and it's just like, you know, if he about to go out and I guess have a party. And but as soon as she gets up to walk away, he basically comes back with a bat and was like, what are you doing in my house? And she was like, if you swing that at me, you better not miss. And he's like, again, what are you doing in my house? He's like, I know you. You were at my store today asking about knobs. So she was like, yeah. She said, don't lie to me. She was like, you know, you was following me or whatever. You kept putting your high beams on. You literally bumped into my car, caused me, you know, damages or whatever. And you kept flashing at me over and over and over. Then you ran into me. So he was like, holy shit, that was you. She was like, yeah, you freaked me out. And he was like, how did you find me? And she was saying it doesn't matter. She was like, what I want to know is why you was following me in the first place. And he was like, well, I was trying to help you. She was like, by ramming me, how the heck is that helping me? So he was like, no, I was trying to warn you. And she was like, warn me about what? So we get a flashback, and we see that when she was driving off, he kept seeing maybe like 2-3 different times a person lifting up their head in her back seat, right? And he was trying to hurry up and catch up to her and let her know, because with him seeing everything that's going on in the newspapers and the serial killer being on the list, you know, the loose, he thought she could be next. And he said, you know, I end up losing you and I didn't know where you went. And she tells him, you know, she went to the side where the you know, the car wash was. So he was like, oh man. He said, yeah, even after that, I tried to go to the police and give them a description and tell them about, you know, what I saw. But because I didn't have much information, you know, they basically didn't want to listen to me, and that wasn't much to go on or whatever. So she's like, oh wow, so you was really trying to be a hero. And she was like, you got one hell of an imagination. Obviously it wasn't never nobody in the back seat, because look at me, I'm still here, I'm not dead. And she was like, you know, I did get your license plate, because he was saying how he didn't get hers. And she was like, you know, that's how I was able to track you down. And now that, you know, you tried to save me. And she was like, look how we met. And she was like, not a lot of people would do that, especially not in today's world. And, you know, he's like, are you sure it wasn't somebody else in your car? She's like, yeah, I would have definitely noticed that. So she was like, wow, this is just such a funny story, like I was saying. And, you know, maybe, you know, now that I know where you live and you know who I am. And he was like, well, I still don't know your name, because she was saying maybe they should get together. And then she gonna like lean in and whisper in his ear, okay, that her name is Marcy. So the next thing you know, she injects him with something. He's like, what the fuck? What did you do to me? What are you doing, you crazy bitch? So he starts choking the mess out of her, like, I'm gonna kill your ass, all right? What the hell is wrong with you? And so he was like, I was trying to help you, right? And he's choking her, throws her down on the floor, whatever. He was like, I can't believe you would do something like that. I was trying to help you. So the next thing you know, I guess it's good or bad, depending on how you look at it, her damn husband had been following her again. Says he was worried about her, and he knocks her out. But he talking about, I always tell you to use something stronger, picking up the damn needle that she has. So apparently this is something she do on a regular, and he know about it. Child, the next thing you know, she freaking in the house telling the husband that the Advil is gonna kick in a little bit. He's like, you sure you don't want to lay down for a while? He says he could keep an eye on her guest. She says no, she feels better when she's working, honey. So she gets down here and got the guy chained up in some daggone type of chamber or whatever, you know. And before she went down there, the husband was like, I'm gonna move up tomorrow once I, you know, help you this one last time or whatever, right? So I guess she's the person that takes care of the people, all right? And he's the one that go ahead and buries the bodies. He actually tells her we might have to start burying them in the backyard, because I guess they was using the cellar or before, and they're starting to like not have room down there. I said, what is this, child? So she go in there, and of course, it's like a whole little layer with different types of tools. And she's like, I like to tell people what I'm gonna do to them before they do it. And she was like, you just had bad luck. You did see somebody in my, back seat, but he wasn't a serial killer. Okay, he just was a misogynistic asshole, and that she had to teach him a lesson, and she have to teach all these people a lesson, okay, that be wanting to mistreat her and talk to her any kind of way, and that they're all just like the people that used to, basically bother her when she was in high school or whatever. And then she starts wiping off her face and showing, the scar that she have on her face, and saying how, she used to get teased for that, and that, these is he's one of those people or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I was with you until you started going there, because even if, not to say it like that, because when people crazy, they crazy, right? They don't need no rhyme or reason. But at least if it was a situation where she was going around and killing people because they were bad, or they were killing people, or they were, harming people, sexually assaulting people. Maybe if she was trying to get back at the people from the high school, not saying she have the right or whatever, but it's like, at least that would make a little bit more sense. Even with the guy being misogynistic, that don't still mean that, it's worth his damn life dying. But in this case, this guy literally was trying to look out for you. So you could have just left and not even, went into all of this, or not followed him in his damn house in the first place, or not been so damn loud and obvious where he wouldn't have came back with the damn bat. But either way, he would have still been living, and you could have still went on about your business. So I guess the whole time when she was saying to her husband that she can't stop this hunger and she have this extra hunger, that's actually what she was out here doing. When she was talking about the hunger, I'm thinking she meaning, as far as sex, that she's like some type of sex addict, like the friend said to her, whatever. But no, she got a damn addict and a hunger for killing people. And apparently he knew the whole time. So I was like, well, what was that all him being worried about, her, and saying there's a serial killer around and stuff, if he already knew that she was into this stuff? So that didn't kind of make sense to me. But nonetheless, she's telling him, and on top of that, you caused $700 worth of damage to my car. And she's literally taking these big utensils and cutting the hell out of him. He's yelling and screaming. She got him all taped down to the chair, and, his mouth covered. And she's telling him how she uses this drug that goes straight to the brain, but sometimes it doesn't work as fast, or sometimes it doesn't work at all. So she was like, yeah, you did see somebody back there, okay? Even though she had told the guy to get out the car, when he went to try to get out, he couldn't. And he was like, what's going on here? And she had told him it was a child lock. And it was like he kept waking back up. And she was like, would you just stay ass down? If you don't stay down, I'm going to kill you in this damn car right now. But of course we wasn't seeing all of that part. And she was like, at the same time, I had this good Samaritan that's coming behind me, ramming me or whatever. And like I said, she go ahead and she cutting him up or whatever, and he's screaming. And she's saying how, she kills all of them and she buries them down there or whatever. And she was like, even though you messed up my car, that doesn't matter, because you almost ruined everything. But she got her shit together, and she was like, he almost ruined the one thing and the one reason that she has for being on this earth. And so in the midst of her, doing this, she talked about the species that all of them made her in her life with the endless shit fest. And I'm like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, I was with you till you got to all of this, honestly, okay? And so, like I said, he's just there yelling and screaming and looking at her like, like, why the hell did I have to be the one to try to save this crazy bitch? And she was like, they would make fun of her when they would see her. They would be staring at her, whatever, as far as, the people in high school that joins in, and that all would look at her scar, and that it was people like him. And I'm like, well, winners or whatever, the top of the food chain type of people, right? That's what she's basically saying that she kills them for. And that they were in charge of keeping her in hell. And so I'm like, okay, girl, if you want to say so. So then she starts, telling him like, well, as she was about to reach for something else, she's like, and he's saying no, 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 or whatever, and yelling and screaming and trying to see if he can't get out the chair. She basically stops all of a sudden and is like, something is off. Something don't feel like, she was like, You know how I come out on the other side because I found the right partner, right? And so she's like, he always wants to be near me. He knows exactly how I feel. He's, you know, he always got my back. It's the most important thing ever. And so as she's saying that, you know, I guess that makes her think about the husband and how he's been sacrificing things, and she hasn't been putting him number one on her list or whatever. And she's like, you know, but something has been feeling off. It hasn't been feeling right. It hasn't been a good, you know, balance. And she was like, anyway, you know, your luck is over tonight or whatever, Mr. Samaritan, you know. She was like, you know, thanks to you or whatever, my damn throat is hurting, but I'm going to skip right to the end. Plus, my husband's job is basically to bury you. And, you know, he's earned that tonight to have an early night, right? And so as she's saying that, then she's basically, like I said, debating back and forth. And she's like, this is wrong. Because she was just about to chop his damn head off. She's talking about this is all wrong. So then she tells him to give her a minute, that she's going to be right back to him. She's like, it's been something wrong for a while now, whatever, right? So I'm like, girl, what's wrong? Okay. She telling him don't go anywhere, as if he could really get up and go, right? Talking about it's gonna be fast and she'll be right back down. And so she just ends up like putting the damn big ass sword in his head as opposed to chopping the whole head off. And then when she comes up, he's like, it's over already. And he's busy packing. So she was like, I don't want to do this anymore without you. And, you know, I want you to come with me. And he's like, you want me to do more than just bury bodies? And she's talking about, yes, this is a big step or whatever the case may be. And I know it's going to be okay. And, you know, she can help him or whatever. And so it could be something that they could share. And he said, well, how can I say no? I said, easy. Say the hell no. What the hell is this, right? Talking about is a perfect way for them to start, you know, over or whatever the case may be. And so, child, they go down to the daggone, you know, basement after they kissing on each other, whatever. Look like this is getting them all excited and they ready to have sex. And while she had the damn best friend, okay, Piper, in the daggone chair, I said, well, when did they get her? Because the last time we seen her was when they was arguing. And they sit here talking about, I love you too. And we just seen her screaming. She's taped down to the chair, you know, and got a gag thing in her daggone mouth. And they both coming with, you know, they swords and knives to go ahead and cut her up together. And that was basically how the episode ended. I said, what the hell is this, y'all? What the hell is this? So I guess the couple that kills together stays together. But anyway, y'all, put it in the comments. Tell me what you thought about this episode. You know, what you liked, what you didn't like, all that good stuff. Let's discuss. All right, like, comment, share, subscribe. Till next time. Toodaloo.